Shall we bow our heads? And I'm going to ask Paige, would you pray for us, please? Okay.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day and for your blessings. Thank you for bringing us all here safely. I pray that you be with us as we enter into our second day of canning, that you will guide our hands and our thoughts, that they will be in unity with you, and that everything will go smoothly. I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen, amen, amen. Again, I want to welcome you and thank you for being brave enough to come back. It was a long day yesterday, and I'm aware of that, but your canning can take a very long time, and sometimes we try to take shortcuts to make it easier on the students, but it's really not fair because then you get home and you find out this takes hours and hours and hours. So the first day of canning is very realistic. Today we're going to talk about green beans and how to use the pressure canner. And we have two different pressure canners here. I showed you yesterday. We have the Presto pressure canner, which is a little less expensive. It has a gasket inside which has to be replaced. The gasket is a rubber device. It's a seal for the canner. And then we have the All-American, which does not have a gasket. It seals by these little screws on the side. The lid actually screws down on it. But they both work the exact same way. We're also going to demonstrate two food strainers. In one, we're going to demonstrate tomatoes and how to make a tomato juice to turn into tomato sauce. You can cook it down to a tomato paste. You can make it into whatever you can use for tomatoes, like barbecue sauce. It's a really good, or you can just drink it as tomato juice. And the other, we're going to demonstrate how to make applesauce. Quick and easy way to make applesauce. The old-fashioned way is longer, but I like my applesauce chunky, and a lot of times I'll do it that way just so I can have chunky applesauce. What I thought about doing is throwing a peach in there so you can see what peach applesauce tastes like. It's very, very good. So if we can pause just for a second, I'll grab a peach and throw it in because the first two demonstrations will be the tomatoes and the applesauce, and then we'll go straight into the green beans, all right? These work exactly the same way. So as you're watching, you can watch either or, but we'll both be doing the exact same thing, just with different products. For your apples, you just want to steam them. You don't want to boil them. So you're going to put an inch of water in the bottom of your pot, and you can use any variety apples. But I like applesauce where you mix the varieties. And you get a little, if you use Granny Smith with Golden Delicious, you get a little tart and a little sweet. It's really good. We've also added cardamom and coriander to our applesauce and spiced it up, and that was really nice. And then we've done peach, strawberry, blueberry, and pineapple applesauce. And with that, you can just crush your pineapple, make your applesauce, put it in. Very, very yummy on pancakes. And if you do peaches, you just heat them a little bit in a very tiny bit of water to soften them up some, and put them through the food mill with your apples. And then if you do strawberries, you just wash them and put them in the food mill with the apples, and very, very good too. Applesauce can be refrigerated for up to 10 days without canning. So you could make it fresh in the morning and put it in a jar, stick it in your refrigerator. After 10 days, it will mold on you if you do not can it. After 2 days in the refrigerator, you cannot can it, so you have to plan on eating it. After 2 days in the refrigerator, you can't can it.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is very hot. My granddaughter likes to do this with me. The apples are just steamed. You don't peel them, you don't core them, you don't stem them. You just wash them, slice them up, and when they're finished, if there's any water, drain it off. They will give off water, so you'll have more water in the pot than you started with. So you don't peel them, you don't core. You'll see what happens here. Yeah, so you don't do anything other than wash them and steam them.
Okay.
So we're going to put some apples in here, and Betty's going to put tomatoes. With the tomatoes, you have two choices. You can put them in raw, which we're doing, or you can cook them and put them in. And when you cook them, you actually steam them the same as the apples. They give off a little more juice more quickly. This is a little bit slower process. Sometimes you have to put them through the food mill twice to get all of the juice out of the pulp when they're raw. But for those of us who like raw juices, then this is the healthier way to do it.
So it's healthier. Does it taste better?
It does.
Okay.
It does. It has more nutrients this way.
Okay.
Could you do this as, in a regular juicer?
To make applesauce,
Yeah.
I don't. I've never. I don't.
Tomatoes you can, right?
You can juice the tomatoes in a regular juicer,
Juicer.
but if you've got bushels of tomatoes, then this is the way to go. With a regular juicer, sometimes with tomatoes too, there's more waste. With this, you'll see you have very little waste.
So your tomatoes are not cooked?
No,
They're not cooked.
She's got me doing something I've never done before.
That, hey, this,
The apples, but not the tomatoes,
But-
but this is good.
we've said from the beginning, this is a hands-on class. And if you're gonna learn, you're gonna learn hands-on. This was five Fuji. Oh. Oh, thank you very much. I'm gonna drain this peach and throw it in there.
So you said you used about 1 inch of water and,
Just enough to cover the bottom of the pan.
so, okay,
So, because you're only steaming it, so.
okay.
And I only
Seemed like
had one.
You'd be cooking a portion of it that's sort of underwater. but that
Well,
doesn't matter.
normally when you're doing this, you're stirring it, but
Okay.
because I'm not watching every.
Gotcha. Okay, I understand.
Okay, and all you do is turn. And as you're turning, I got my bowls reversed. As you're turning, you are pushing the apple out, and then all of the junk comes out this end. And then what you do is, if you see that you've got pulp coming out of that end, then you, okay, okay, okay. It can be. If you see that you have pulp, more pulp coming out than seeds, then what you do is you dump it back in. And with this, no matter how many times you dump it back in, you will never get garbage in your food bowl. It will always come back to your garbage bowl. So I'm going to redo this.
Do you usually try to run it through twice then?
I always run mine through twice. I like my pulp to be very dry.
Are those expensive?
The Victorio is mostly steel. It is the better product. It only clamps down to the table. And it is more expensive. It's close to $100. The Roma is more aluminum. It has two ways to clamp down. It has a suction on the bottom, and it has a clamp for the table. It's mostly plastic, but it does the exact same thing. And it's more like $40.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good investment. Not expensive. Both of them aren't expensive, really.
So this one has more steel?
This one, the body of it is steel.
Which one is better? In your opinion, which do you think is better?
They work the same.
Work the same.
Honestly, work the same. If you want longevity, this one's a better one because of the steel. Now, I don't sweeten my applesauce ever when I make it. So I like it the way it is. I like it to taste like the fruit. You have the option of sweetening it. If you're going to do that, you have to take the applesauce that you have put through the mill and you have to put it in a pan. Put it on the stove, add your sweetener, and heat it until the sweetener dissolves. Otherwise, the sweetener will crystallize in the applesauce and make it really hard and crispy, and you don't want that. So,
You know, this is so much easier than making applesauce. This year, when the applesauce, you know those hand ones that have the slices on it, and you just press that on the apple, and it slices it. So I did all that, and then I boiled them. You know, just a little water at the bottom of my pan, and then boiled it, and then mashed it with the masher.
Wow.
That's how I did it this year. But this is so much easier.
that is the old-fashioned way of doing it.
That's the way I did it. But that way is. Yeah. Remember? I still have some left. I only have some
Put
this
your
morning.
sauce and put it on the boiler.
If you're going to sweeten it, you have to put it in a pan, add your sweetener, and cook it until the sweetener is dissolved into the applesauce.
What kind of sweetener would you use?
You can use any sweetener. You can use agave, you can use honey, you can use sugar, brown sugar, whatever you like, you could put in there. And Betty is holding this because we have this clamped to an unstable table, this is plastic, so she's holding it down for me. Thank you.
We're doing time on making applesauce.
Oh, yeah. When you've gotten 3 or 4 bushels of apples, you can get this done very quickly. If you wash your apples, well, that's when you get your grandkids, the neighbors' kids, anybody you can find who has an arm and willing to turn.
Didn't you say you like yours chunky?
Yes,
How do you make it chunky for this is like,
you don't use this to make it chunky. You use
just
it.
like with the old fashioned?
Yes,
Okay.
I sometimes do it the old-fashioned way. Yes.
How do you do the old fashioned?
You put it in you cut your apples up. If you do it the old-fashioned way, you have to peel your apple, then core it, slice it up, and put it in a pan of water. You have to almost boil it to get it soft. And then you take a potato masher and you mash it. That can take a while, depending on how many apples you have. So I do small batches of hand applesauce, and usually those are flavored. So I have a better control over how chunky my strawberries are, how small my pineapple is chopped. But I don't do all my applesauce that way because it's too time consuming. I usually use the food mill for that. So, is there any volunteers that would like to try this applesauce? Nobody wants to try it. You're scared? Okay.
Did someone already volunteer?
Yes.
Chandra did?
Sean, no, she's just getting jars. So anybody who wants to try, take one of these little jars. There are plastic spoons right here.
Are they clean?
And you can put it in the jar and then take your seat and take it with you. Questions? Any more questions about the strainer? The food strainer? Okay.
So with the tomatoes, you usually don't cook them, you do it raw.
I don't cook them if I'm going to turn them into a sauce because they're going to be cooked as the sauce. Say, for example, you wanted to make spaghetti sauce. There's 2 ways of doing that. One, the first way, I'm going to do an advanced class for you if you want it, and we'll do the tomato sauce. Don't write this down. This is a long process. I'm going to tell you how to do it. And then if anybody wants to know, I can show them how to do it. But with tomato sauce, what you do is you wash your tomatoes. And then you have to blanch them and peel them. And everybody knows what blanching is, right? So you blanch them and you peel them, and you dunk them in ice water. When you take them out of the ice water, the peel will just fall off. It's very little effort to get the peel off. Once you've taken the peel off, you're just going to put those in a pan and crush them. To that pan, you're going to add garlic and onions and peppers. Your favorite things. I add zucchini and squash to mine, summer squash to my spaghetti sauce. Yeah. And then you're going to spaghetti sauce is a long process. It sautés, it simmers for about 2 hours, sometimes 3, because what you're doing is you're reducing the water content of the tomatoes by simmering, and you're thickening that sauce. When you get that sauce to the consistency that you want it to be, then you jar it. That's why I do not cook my tomatoes, because this is it's a process. Now, tomatoes are the one exception to the rule for vitamin and nutrient content. The longer you cook your tomatoes, the more heightened your vitamin and nutrient content is in them, and I don't know why that is. That's the way God created them. So you don't lose all of your content in cooking tomatoes.
Is there a particular type of tomato that you would prefer for the sauce?
For me, I prefer Roma. Roma has a really deep, rich color. The flavor is when they're fully ripened on the vine, the flavor of Roma tomatoes in a tomato sauce is exceptional. It's really, really good. The other thing about them is they're a beefy tomato, so the sauce will be thicken up much faster. So if you use a regular slicing tomato for this, you'll find that you have to cook your sauce a lot longer because they have a lot more water content. They're not a dry-fleshed tomato. But a Roma is a more dry-fleshed tomato. For most of you who've noticed that when you buy your Roma tomatoes, the juice doesn't normally just run out of them like they do a regular tomato. That's why. They were intended to make tomato paste. They're an Italian brand, and that's what they were famous for. So there's another brand, it's called a paste tomato, and that's exactly what it was bred for. And it's thicker fleshed than the Roma tomato, and it's a deep, deep red color, and it's very, very tasty in a sauce also. And these two tomatoes are very good if you're going to make barbecue sauce. Or ketchup. If you're going to make ketchup, they're very good for that. The tomatoes with the higher water content make nice salad dressings. But we won't be doing that today. That's a little more, it takes a little more time. It takes a little more skill. You have to actually watch your sauce. Tomato sauce requires a lot of attention. You have to consistently stir it because tomatoes like to stick to the pan. So you have to be up and alert and ready for that. And I only do tomatoes by themselves. The day that I do that, that's all I'm doing because it requires attention. It's a long, like I said, it's a long process because from the start to the finish, you have to stay with that tomato. Normally, I do not peel my tomatoes and refrigerate them because many of you may already know, tomatoes are not supposed to be refrigerated at all. No, when you pick them, you're to put them on your counter in a bowl and leave them out. They lose their nutrient content faster in the refrigerator. Yes, yes, they're not to be refrigerated. So, we are now going to move on. How do you like the applesauce? For those of you who have it. It's better cold than warm. It's good? Yeah, it's better cold though than warm. Good. We're going to move on. We're going to can our green beans this morning. And you've read through the steps. And we're going to divide again into two groups. Each group is going to have their own canner. We want to hear your experience about the Presto canner if you get that one. And we want to hear your experience about the All-American if you are the group that uses that one. I'm going to show each of you how to lock the lid and how to read the gauge so that you know whether or not you're canning in a safe temperature zone. Do you remember what the temperature zone is for pressure canning?
10 to 15.
That's your pounds. Your pounds? 240 to 250. 270 would overcook, and that's more towards 20 pounds of pressure. And you want to stay between 10 and 15. It's closer to 10. Once your kettle begins to boil with your jars in it, you will have to adjust the flame under your kettle until you get to a motion, and there's a specific motion for each kettle. It's this. The kettle will, the gauge will rock, whistle every 2 minutes. So you're going to have to continue to adjust this flame until you get the rock whistle. When it first starts, it will totally rock and whistle, make a lot of noise. But if you continue to do that, you will overcook your beans and put too much pressure on them. So what is the rhythm that we want?
Rock whistle.
Rock whistle every 2 minutes. So I'm going to, this is hands-on, divide you into groups of two. We're going to go straight down the middle of the tables this time. Pardon me? I'm cutting you in half. I'm sorry. So from Ruma this way, we'll be using the Presto canner. And from Dan this way, we'll be using the All-American. I'm going to put a pan of beans on two tables. So you guys will have to group in a group around each table each. And you're going to jar your beans. Please follow your instructions carefully. There's salt here for those who want salt in their beans. I'm going to boil your water for you, but what you're going to do right now is stuff your jars. The jars need to be exactly as they say here. You need to compact them, and you need to remove the air from them once the water is in. So if you have any questions, please let me know, but this is your day. All right, we're going to divide up. Beyond that. Yes, ma'am.
We're just putting them in and then subsequently we'll put the water.
That's right. The water goes in after the beans.
Do we put the salt in the bottom?
Yes, it doesn't matter if you put it in the bottom or the top.
Is there a particular way to put the beans in?
No, you have to make sure they're tight. So if you don't want them whole, you can snap them in half and put them in.
Just want to make sure they're tight so you don't have holes.
You'll get more beans in your jar if you break them.
Just have to wash it in a special solution.
We just did bleach water. I'm trying to get this out of here now. Thank you. And so you can wash. I'll finish filling. I got to finish filling this after there. Everybody's coming along nicely?
Just drop your lid.
So guess what? If we have
With the lid?
that number of beans left, we're going to can all of them. So we'll use the rest of the jars to put the beans in. We have a lot of beans. Yeah. Leave the bleach water because you have so many beans left, you're going to need to can the rest of those. Yeah.
I will give you some, don't worry.
We have some here.
They were used though. There's only 3 in there.
Oh, we brought an extra case. People must not have brought jars.
Guess not, 'cause this
But
is
these,
my
but
jar,
there's,
and I need jars.
excuse me, there's one point to be made. Remember yesterday we talked about head space. Do you remember what head space is in your jars? Yes. Okay, you have to check, yes, you have to check your head space in your jar, on each jar to make sure that your beans are in the proper position. I'm going to pass around the tool. Each person can use it to check their head space. Excuse me.
And you just put the salt on top of the beans.
Yes, yes, you're good, Rochelle. Okay, here you go. You know how to use it?
You just put it at the side?
This is 1 inch.
Okay.
Wait a minute. No, this is 1 inch. So, if you look down into the jar from up above like this, so you see where the end of it is? That's your 1 inch head space. You're right there. You're high. You're a little high. Okay, this is 1 inch is right. Can you see the 1 inch on there? 1 inch is there. So if you put it right on the edge and your beans are right. You're right there. Okay, one step that I took for you is before you start pressure canning, there are things you need to do to prepare. One is to boil your water because you know you're going to need to add water to these jars. The other one is to put your canners on low simmer because that canner needs to be as hot as the water is in the jar. Now, remember the head space for your water is the same as for your beans. Do not fill your jar more than 1 inch from the top. All right? You're ready. You can take turns.
It says right here.
1 inch from the top.
Do you need a top of that pot?
Yes. Excuse me. This is really hot. Okay, who knows the next step after we get the water in? Yes.
Wipe the rims and the threads of the jaw.
There you go.
Did you do the other one?
And with green beans, why would you wipe the rims? There's no sugar involved. Why would you wipe?
I don't know, can you not still get
The salt.
bacteria on it? Isn't it?
No, it's the salt. The salt leaves a mineral deposit when it gets wet.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Are we done measuring and wiping? We have lids to put on.
Okay, so these 3 are done, so I'll put the lid
2
on.
magnets. Do you remember how to tighten?
Go until you feel the pressure and half.
Turn it 360 degrees and
Then half a turn. The reason for hand tightening, do you remember what it is? It's because that rubber gasket, before it seals, it is the mechanism that the air is pressed by pressure out of the bottle. So you only tighten it enough so that seal has a little air space to press the air out. And as the air is pressed out, the seal is created, and then it will close on its own. So
would it be better to have a little extra tightening than too little?
even if you tighten it extra and the air is able to escape, what can happen is the action of the boiling water can take this rim right off the jar. We've had that happen several times. So you can Yeah.
What about too loose? What's the disadvantage of that?
Too loose, and what happens is when the pressure starts to build up in the canner, the seal will burst off, and all the contents of the jar will go into the water. So.
Neither one of those.
No, so you want it to get it 360 around and then half a turn. Half a turn. One full turn and then half a turn. Because the full turn is where you tighten it down to where it's on the jar, and then half a turn after that.
So one full turn and one half a turn.
Full turn till you get to resistance.
There's one over there.
Yeah, there's one over there for that.
They're putting-
And then half a turn.
This one needs to be white.
Okay, we need one person to start putting your jars in the canner as you get the lids on. If you have the Presto, here's your jar lifter. You never drop a jar into a canner. Always use a lifter. The water, if you drop it in, will splash up and scald you. Or the jar will turn over in the canner, and it's very hard to put it upright again. So you need a lifter. One for this team,
Yay.
one for this one.
You want to start putting them in?
7 jars, 7-quart jars will fit into each canner.
Okay, I don't know how to operate this thing.
Oh, you. It's, you grab it from here, right? Oh,
You
here.
grab it from the handles here,
Oh,
you put it around the jar like this, and you lift it up like that.
and so this one is for which one? The All-American?
I don't remember.
We're in this one.
You're in the All-American.
This team.
We're gonna get Brother
We're all
Sykes to do it
American.
because he's tall.
Yeah. You see, I'm gonna need a
That's my-
stepladder.
oh, yeah.
And who are you going to use when you get home?
Stepladder.
Okay.
Let me just put one here. I just
Oh,
want
look at you. Okay.
You can see
Then I
in
can do
there.
the second.
You can see down in there. If, yeah.
Oh, I like it.
Excuse
You
me.
guys need some covers? Maybe some of, I don't know, if we have extra covers. Maybe $1.
After you get it in, I'm going to show you how to close the canners.
I feel like I did something. Oh, you can do the rest. Am I good there?
Yeah, you can put your hand under just to make sure you've got the grip on it. Don't touch the.
Don't let them touch each other.
You know, what?
You're not supposed to.
They're going to have to touch each other. To get 7 in, they're going to have to.
Okay.
That one needs to be wet.
Sorry, that's the other method.
You threw me off. What? Now my whole class is ruined. I gotta start.
You screwed the last one that was here, yeah?
Yay.
For sure I did.
If you notice, when you start this canner for pressure canning, you only have 3 inches to 4 inches of water in the bottom of the pot because you're trying to create pressure. So the pot is not full of water.
Okay.
But the water will be displaced when the jars are in, and it will cover the jars.
It will.
So it
Just
will.
for 3 to 4 inches.
Just from 3 to watch, take a look and see what happens in the pot.
Yeah, I can see it right now. It's almost.
Yeah.
It's almost over the top right now. See what one more jar does. Just went over the top.
There you go.
Just barely.
And then you know it's accurate. That is the way it
If
should
you're
look.
just barely over, that's okay?
That's the way it's supposed to look.
It is.
And then we're going to put the lid on. So I'll show you how to do the lid for this canner.
Okay.
And then we'll do the other one. Okay, excuse me. Okay,
Ooh, man, I like that.
now, there's 2 arrows. There's one arrow on the, just got it locked up. There's one arrow on the lid.
Oh, there it is.
Yes, and there's one here. They have to match when you initially put the lid on the canner.
Okay.
Then,
Just turn it clockwise.
yes, but there's a height. See how this is touching the canner and in the back it's not. So you have to level that out. So you turn it on and you level it out. Then when you screw it down, they have to go opposites together to keep it level, keep the lid level.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, the steam will escape through the sides of the canner instead of through the vent. And you'll lose your water in your canner. It'll go dry and your glasses will explode. So, yeah, it might be a little bit important. So all the way around, you tighten them 2 at a time, never 1 at a time, to keep it level.
You have to open it up that way as well.
You have to open it that way as well. So, well, this is a really nice one. Okay, now it's closed. The next step in this is, somebody turned it down, okay. It has to be on high. These are going to begin to boil. When they begin to boil, steam will come out of this vent.
10 minutes.
When the steam comes out, see it's starting to come out. When it comes out in a full cloud, you're going to start a timer for 8 to 10 minutes.
Okay, so you don't do it till that comes out.
So
When do we do that whistling thing? Right?
after we vent this, it has to start building up pressure in there. It creates an environment for pressure. And if you don't do this step, you could not have enough pressure to process your food. So for 8 minutes, this is starting to come up to where it needs to be, but this cloud has to be nice and thick. We time that for 8 to 10 minutes. Once that's timed for 8 to 10 minutes, we're going to put the weight on. How many pounds of pressure do you need to use for green beans? 10. 10. This is a weighted canner. This is not a weighted canner. The weight is preset in this canner by the temperature. But with the weighted canner, the weight has the measurements on there, 5, 10, or 15. And when we put this weight on, we're going to put on 10 pounds of pressure, and we're going to watch the gauge. The gauge on this canner has both weight and temperature on it. So if you look, the bottom number here is the weight. The top number there is the temperature. So with this one, it's an exact science. You know both the weight and the temperature at the time the food is being processed. This canner, this is the All-American. The Presto canner only gives you the weight. It does not give you the temperature. So you have to watch this canner to make sure you keep it at a temperature, at a weight between 10 and 15 pounds of pressure. With this one, you can clearly see that the temperature is not in the range it needs to be. So if it's not in the range, you have to adjust your flame until you get it in the range it needs to be.
Is it better to can with gas or?
Gas. Yes. Electric takes a lot longer to heat up, and so it's harder to regulate the heat on the electric canner. But it can be done. For the last 7 years, I've canned on electric. So
You just like gas better, but the problem is when we can't buy or sell.
I'm canning. I just
Need
bought a
electric, right?
no. I just bought a wood cook stove. So I'm
about
teaching
that.
myself to can on my wood cook stove.
What's a cook stove?
Wood cook.
Okay.
A wood cook stove. We're learning to cook with wood.
Is it inside?
Yeah, eventually have to do that.
We're building a summer kitchen for it. Right now it's in my kitchen. Don't pick that up. It's very hot. Right now it's in my summer kitchen. I got it.
That would not be nice.
We're building a summer kitchen outside of our kitchen for it. Okay, who has this canner? You need to put your jars in. And then we'll talk about, now we're not finished with the All-American canner. We're just right now bringing it up to steam. And then afterwards, we'll talk about what we're going to do next. But with the Presto canner, we need to now put jars in this canner. And you can fit 7 quarts in there too.
I can.
But if you do here, there you go. So you see how it stops? It's supposed to do that and then pick up again. So you're getting closer to your correct setting.
It's coming up.
It's coming up. Okay, good. Good. Now, notice your temperature gauge. You're at the right setting. Notice your temperature gauge. Where are you? You should be closer to 240.
We're 243 or so.
Excellent. You're probably now at the right temperature. You are. You'll hear the slight pause, and then it'll pick up and pause. That's what you want out of your canner. And that could actually pause a little bit more.
Yeah.
So you may go down just a half.
Okay.
So has that one started? That one needs to time for 10 minutes, but I don't have a timer.
She doesn't have the timer, actually.
You couldn't find one?
No.
Okay, we'll need to use anyone's phone who's willing and
Or show it to get
time
her.
that one. Oh, you're getting there. Now, with this All-American, what we're gonna pay attention to is if it ever stops and does that and does not pick up, and then it's too low.
Yeah.
Okay, it's picking up
Well,
again.
see, it just did it after 30 seconds or so.
Yeah, so it's fine.
I thought we needed 2 minutes.
What you need is a consistency. A consistent hum and pick up. Hum
So you
and
want
pick
me-
up.
you
The
said 10
recommendation is 2 minutes, but as I said, you will never get it to work in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to do that, but it needs to
Okay.
be consistent. Whatever
Okay.
you get needs to be consistent.
Can I start?
You start,
10
eight,
minutes?
yeah,
Yeah,
10
but see,
minutes.
there it was doing it just 5 seconds apart. That's
Yeah.
okay?
That's okay, as long as it's consistent. Really? As long as it's consistent. You can,
That's what it's doing, it's pretty consistent right now.
yes, and what'll happen is,
I'll
if you
wait till
turn
the
it,
time is
you can try it, you can turn it down some more and see if you can get 2 minutes, but I've never gotten 2 minutes. And what I've learned from researching and from talking to people who've been canning for years is what you're looking for is the consistency, so that the pressure is not so great that it's constantly screaming and exerting too much pressure on the jars. So this is excellent. That's your hum. And the other thing, I mean, that's your hum, and the other thing is your rocking. That's your,
But see, now it's doing it,
But
now
now
it
it
went
wakes up.
almost 30 seconds
see?
rather than 5. That's what I'm saying, that's inconsistent to me.
Okay. Maybe. I don't have a better way of explaining it.
Okay,
But what you're seeing now is what you should expect to see.
okay.
So, if yours does that, it's doing the first thing. But if yours is doing what it was doing when we first turned it down, that is incorrect. Or if yours pauses like that and never rocks, that is incorrect.
Okay.
So,
Okay. All right.
I guess consistency is the wrong word, but what it needs to do, it needs to rock a little bit.
Like a regular
And
And breathe a little bit.
Like
That's
a
right.
routine
Okay.
pattern.
That's right,
Okay,
routine
I get it.
pattern.
Yeah.
All right.
Rock and pause and rock and pause.
That's correct.
Whether it's 1 minute or whether it's 5 seconds.
Right. So when you
Okay.
read the book, it'll say 1 to 2 minutes. So
Yeah.
I'm just quoting what they say so that if you read that and I say 30 seconds, you're like, hey.
Could I ask you another question? When this, I can't remember what you said. When this is through at 25 minutes, we turn off the heat. Can we take this off immediately? Let
No,
the steam-
no. Every glass in there will explode.
Boy, well.
Yeah,
Okay, so the temperature goes down all the way to 0?
all the way to 0.
Okay, and then take
Then take
this
the
off.
weight off first.
And then all the pressure will be out, then we can undo it.
Then you unscrew it 2 at a time.
Okay. Got it.
Wow. Yeah, you take that off and they will
I
collapse.
think some people might be mad at me. Lose all of the hard work.
The glass will collapse. The pressure against the glass will crush the glasses, yeah.
Wow,
Yes,
wow, that's big pressure.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I got it at Walmart.
Oh, you did.
and one thing about, once you use your canner on your stove and you found an adjustment for it, that adjustment works almost every time you can. Yes, when you get it to the perfect spot, mark that spot on your dial, because it'll work every time.
Wow.
Especially if you're cooking the gas. But what we're gonna do is, because this one's gonna go off a little bit, now let me tell you this before I do it. Do not move your canning pot after you can.
Oh.
That's in the canning manual, and they tell you don't do it. And the reason is because the pressure is against those jars, and you can shift the pressure.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to do it, and with a prayer, because this is not boiling on that small burner, and we need to get it going.
Okay.
So, and the beans will be in there too long if we don't, and under that hot water. So I'm gonna switch them around, so pray for me as I do it, because it's something, I just do not do it. Have you ever done it before?
You say it changes the
It's
pressure?
just personal questions.
Just pray.
I've had to do it before, yes. I had to do it before.
So you're saying it changes the pressure?
It changes the pressure, it can change the pressure in the canner. It's not advisable to do it. And you will also, if you buy the Presto canner, there's an insert in your manual that tells you not to use it outside on a propane stove. I use my canners outside on a propane stove, but they tell you not to do it.
Okay.
So, you know,
You're very risky.
take your, huh?
You're very risky.
Kind of rebellious, aren't you?
Uh-oh. Well, I didn't have a stove.
Oh,
So I was
so-
canning outside because I didn't have a stove.
Okay.
And my crops were in, I had them, well, I had, long story. Anyway, I didn't have a stove.
Okay. So we just turn it off.
Yeah, I think you turn it off.
And then it's not gonna do it.
There you go.
Good. We go.
I have burners that I use more than.
All American people, it's time to eat.
Yeah.
Actually see that one come up to temperature, but once it heated, it came up to temperature faster than the All-American. I was surprised by that. So, but I still prefer the All-American.
You already know.
So, I think just about everybody is here, and we can commence.
Sure.
Okay, one person from each group open your pots, and see if do you remember the procedure for the Presto?
Oh, you know,
Wait,
turn
wait.
it.
No, we're gonna do one at a time, but we'll just
Can we
choose.
take off the
Michelle.
weight first?
The weight comes off first,
She said they're gonna do
and
one.
just lay it to the side. Okay.
So it should be good since there's no more steam, right?
It's no more steam, so two at a time.
On
They have to be
opposite.
opposite ends. You're gonna unscrew them and take them off.
Am I just strong or is this strong?
They're tight.
Oh, wow.
Here, let me break them for you.
This
They-
one turned, but that one.
That one didn't.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Very much so.
Okay, turn it counterclockwise. Take it by the handle only. Turn it counterclockwise, Rochelle. And then,
Should I pick it up?
no, you gotta, excuse me, you gotta disengage it first. I mean clockwise, I'm sorry, counterclockwise, yeah, this way, no, this way. Yeah, now when you lift it, here, I'll show you. You lift it up and away from you, because see where the steam is going? If you lift it the other way, it'll be in your face. So.
All right, redo.
Okay, go ahead and just lift it. Yeah, just lift it. Up and away. And then you can just set it on any surface that can withstand heat. So then you take a jar lifter and a towel.
The other way.
Yeah. You're going to lift the jar, put the base of the jar on the towel. Good. And you're going to bring it over and set it here.
Green bean. It looks so green.
There you go.
Dun dun!
Yay,
And that
she
is
did
how
it.
you do. Your turn.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead, Paige. You want to open your, take your stopcock off, yes, first. And then that one opens at the handle, so you might have to push the other pot over.
Is it hot?
Yes, it's very hot. Take the towels. That pot is very hot. Okay.
Okay.
Here you go.
Then you twist it.
Yes, you are. You're going to twist it counterclockwise. That way, yes. And then lift it up and away from you.
Like this.
Yes.
Counterclockwise.
And wait, there you go. And you can just set that lid on top of the other pot. And take your jar lifter and take out your jar. And that is the end of our canning for today. Congratulations.
It's green beans look like they're to the top. That's
Get floated.
They will float up when the pressure is applied and the heat. But when they cool, they will come back down to the bottom of the jar.
So what
So
about the water that's in there? Is it absorbing? Is it gonna?
no, it's
No,
going to
just
stay
gonna
like
sit.
that. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's going to stay like that.
I don't know.
So that's all there is to green beans. So I know you can do it. Got to get your canner so you can go home, and when your crops come in, you can can your green beans. Now, we can meet tomorrow morning at 10. We're going to peel peaches. So be prepared to dip your hands in some icy water. So,
Remember my nice.
yes. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So they'll be hot, and then when they go in the cold, that's when the
That's when the peel comes off, yeah. And pray for your peaches because we're praying they'll be totally ripe. We have found today that some of them are not. So if that becomes a problem, I'll be out buying peaches tonight. So if they don't ripen in time. But just say a prayer. God is able to do anything. I'm going to set them outside. That'll help. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. All right. We're done. We're done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.